Okay. Throne of the Tides mini-set review. Starting with the neutrals. 35 cards, I think, in this mini-set. It really came out of nowhere. It just suddenly announced the other day, or maybe I wasn't paying too much attention. But it'll be here tomorrow, so that's cool. Neptulon, the Tidehunter, 10 mana, 7/7, neutral legendary, colossal elemental. Rush, Wind Fury whenever Neptulon attacks. If you control any hands, they attack instead. I could probably give this a 5. I don't know. The thing, people are comparing this to Raid Boss and Ixia, and I think it's a fair comparison. Oh, by the way, you need to know what the hands do. Are they not here? This website sucks too. Okay, the hands are like 4/2s or something, and they have immune while attacking. Yeah, 4/2 immune while attacking. They're written in the text. Okay, yeah. Could have gone the extra mile dot esports, but at least you put it here. Yeah, I'll call it a 5. The comparison to Raid Boss and Ixia is fair. I honestly don't know. I mean, Raid Boss might be a little bit better. So basically what happens is this guy attacks twice, and both times it attacks, both hands attack the thing. So basically you can send this 10-drop into 2 different 8/8s, and they will both be completely killed, and you'll have still 7/7 and 2 4/2s on the board. And you'll get to do it again next turn. And only can this be damaged when it attacks if you're out of hands. If that makes sense. I don't know, it seems busted. The way to beat it, I guess, would be to have a wide board. Have like 5 or 6 minions on the board, and they can only attack 2 of them. And then next turn you can clear away the 4/2s. Or maybe the head itself. Less impactful on the turn. It comes down to Raid Boss and Ixia. Yeah, with Raid Boss you could attack 6 different targets. Sorry, 7 different targets, including one big one. With this one, you can only attack 2 different targets, although you can attack those 2 targets 2 times each. Just a different flavor of Raid Boss and Ixia. I've been saying for a while, and other people are saying this too, that the immune while attacking is on all the best cards in the game, and is also poisonous to the arena, and really has no business in the game. And it's their new favorite keyword. We have another one in this set, and we'll get to it later, but... If they clear the hands but not the boy, it is 14 face damage. Yeah, right? It almost might be better to clear one of the hands and leave the other one alive, right? So then they can only do 4 damage with each hit. There's like stuff you could think about with it, but yeah. Ozumat. 8 mana, 6/5 colossal beast, legendary. +6. Death rattle for each of Ozumat's tentacles. Destroy a random enemy minion. Is it written in the text here? Okay, alright, here. 1/3 beasts. So you get 6 tentacles. Basically, the idea is if you manage to kill your squid man next turn, and you got like 4 tentacles left, you kill like 4 random enemy minions. It's very specific, right? It's very specific. I think this is mostly good as an 8 mana card that summons a bunch of stuff, right? Because you're not always going to be able to make a trade that kills your 6/5. And even then, is the opponent really going to have so many cards on their board after you let them trade their stuff in, right? So it's nothing like the last one in terms of power level, but it's just a crap ton of stats. It makes me think of the one... What the heck is the card called? Shuma? The, like, 1/7 that summons the 1/1s. This is, like, the infinitely better version of that. Reminds me of the Demon Hunter Colossal. It's a decent comparison point. So this is, like, a pretty good control tool. Gonna help you shift games back in your favor just by sheer girth of stats. It's basically a wall. And the one thing they can still do to you is go face and try to kill you. But better go face without minions that this can die to if that's your plan. It's probably still a 4.5, right? It's just so much stats. I'm thinking. Bubbler. 1 mana, 2/4, common elemental. So 1 mana, 2/4. Incredible stat line, one of the best we've seen. After this minion takes exactly 1 damage, destroy it. Pop! I think this card's cute. I like it. So the idea is, if you can ping this card, it dies. It's a 1 mana, 2/1. But if you can't, and you have to trade like 3 damage in or whatever, it's incredible stats for the cost. Pretty bad against Demon Hunter. And generally other ping classes are gonna be fine against it. But it's like forcing a ping almost, and you're pretty happy to do that in the early game. As, you know, I was just discussing with Ivanovic a little while ago. How good do I ultimately think this is? It takes control of the board in the early game, especially against non-ping classes, but I don't know that it will have a huge impact on the game overall. Peasant's still a good card. This just has less upside. Yeah, you could sort of consider this a version of Peasant, right? That's more tempo rather than value-based. I think, like... And this might even be high, but I'll say a 3.5 for now. I think it's pretty close to a premium 1-drop. And can be really disruptive. And even in the late game, could maybe get a nice little value trade or go face a bit. But it's not going to dominate, I don't think. I like it. I think it's a good card. Snapdragon. 3 mana, 3/3 rare beast. Battlecry, give all Battlecry minions in your deck +1/+1. Well, I'll tell you, this meta that we're in right now is very much a Battlecry meta. And it's to the point that half to 2/3 of your deck can be Battlecries sometimes. Too slow? It just depends on the meta, I would say. I think in this meta, it could be really good. It's a way to, like, commit something to the board in the early game. You don't want to play a 3 mana 3/3, but if you got, you know, no better 3-drop to play, throw it on your board. And then if it's going to be a long game, like if you're a Warlock deck maybe, I think you'll get pretty good value out of it. If it was hand as well, it would be good. That's a good point. If you could immediately reap a benefit from it. I think this will shine in a class like Warlock. It's something like, I don't know. Something like... Shaman, it could be okay, because those games are often long as well. I think we could call this... Oh, is it better than average? Would it be good in a Hunter deck, I wonder? Because you're trying to end things fast. It's probably less good in a Hunter deck, right? But yeah, maybe if you draft multiple Snapdragons, the next Snapdragon you draw will be a 3 mana 4/4, right? I'm gonna call this a 3. I think it's got potential, and this might be high. This might be one of those that I look back on and like, alright, well, the card was... Yeah. But something that I have noticed in this meta is these cumulative effects, the Mist Callers, or the Asharan Gardens, or things like that. even Legionnaire can really exhaust you from removal resources over time. It's a cumulative effect. This is a good meta for a Snapdragon, I think. Other metas might not be. Coilfang Constrictor, 4-mana, 5/4 beast, rare. Battlecry, look at 3 cards in your opponent's hand and choose one. It can't be played next turn. Oh! Ooh, I didn't know about this one. This is great. I love this too. I love this very much. Not the best card in the world. But I'm personally I don't mind a 4-mana 5/4 stat line, especially if you are a more aggressive class. Like, I like drafting 4-mana 5/4s in Hunter, for example. If you're playing a control game, then there is a lot that can remove 4 health these days. Pelican Diver, prime example. But, you know, if you're looking at 3 cards in their hand and one of them's a Pelican Diver, maybe you make it so that they can't play that one. I like this a lot. I'm gonna call this... Perhaps responsibly it should be a 3, but I'm going to call it a 3.5 because I like the fun value of it, and I think you can really do some mind games on the opponent. Like, play this the turn before turn 9 with a mage in the end game, and then you say, you're not allowed to play your Rune of the Archmage, and I'm threatening lethal. What are you going to do about it? Yeah, draw this late while your opponent is also top decking in a top deck battle? Well, they might not have a card in their hand, but if they do... they won't be able to play it next turn. Yeah, lock them into the top deck. I agree with 3.5, and I think maybe it's even a 4, although that might be too high. It doesn't affect the board when it comes down, which makes me think maybe not a 4. But I'm very excited to play with this, and I think that this is a kind of a fun card that also... It's not game-breaking. It's not like you throw this down and suddenly the opponent's like completely stymied, and it just feels like a very balanced, well-statted, interestingly designed, fun dynamic card. I'm a fan. Yeah, the information also. You get to know 3 of your opponent's cards. That's really cool. Alright, move on to Warrior. Clash of the Colossals. 3-mana rare spell. Add a random colossal minion to both players' hands. Yours costs 2 less. Not game breaking, but it's definitely gonna piss people off a lot. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Trash. It's random, right? Like, if this card was Discover a Colossal and add a random Colossal to your opponent's hand, that would be probably playable, right? These are both random, and the thing is, you can play yours first, most likely. I don't know. How are you supposed to play with this? Are you supposed to play it in the early game and then you get your Colossal down on curve and win by the time they can play theirs? Is that how this is supposed to work? Or do you play this on turn 10 and try to get yours out right away? But depending on the Colossal, it just might get cleared by theirs. I don't know. Maybe if you play this on 3 and then get an early Colossal. But some are cheaper than others. I can envision it being played. I'll give it a 0.5. The 0.5 is for the big brain person who wants to try to pull this off. You might give Gigafin to your opponent. Yeah, right? You fill the board with colossal parts and suddenly you get Gigafinned. I guess that could be okay if you get the pirate one and then you have pirates in your hand. I don't know. I'm trying to imagine it, but no, this is great. This is what Warrior needs, more useless cards to be discovered in the spell pools. Cracking good job on that design. The Ingenious Lava Goer. 4-mana, 3/5 common, elemental, taunt, battlecry, dredge. Gain armor equal to its cost. The whole gain armor thing is not really useful in Arena. There's a lot of Warrior cards that do this. Part of why Warrior sucks. Sometimes you'll be happy to have that armor. Not a particularly useful mechanic. But the really nice thing that the Igneous Lava Gorger does for you is dredge. And we all know now how valuable that mechanic is. It's solid. It's solid. And taunt is useful too. If it was just a 4-mana 3/5 taunt, you'd be looking at Ascension Shield Master, right? And you draft those sometimes. A Shield Master that dredges. It's totally acceptable. I would say 2.5. Strong average card. It does have an elemental tag, and that is kind of relevant. Title, Revenant, 8 mana, 5/8 common elemental. Battlecry, deal 5 damage, gain 8 armor. Oh, this is what y'all were talking about earlier, right? The new Pit Croc. It's Pit Croc, except it has 2 more health and an elemental tag, and it gains 8 armor. Pretty good for late game battles, right? You're basically playing a Moarg with initiative, and the main downside of Moarg historically has been it doesn't have initiative. I call it a Moarg because of the gain 8 armor. And I think the loss in stats and taunt is well worth being able to deal 5 damage. Pitcroc, I think, is still perfectly playable. It's nice to have burn at the top end. I'm drafting Krakens. Even still. It's a nice stat line. It's hefty. It's sticky. And it keeps you from dying probably the next turn. So, like, the opponent could be setting up lethal, and then you, I don't know, shoot them in the face, or kill one of their minions, and suddenly you're way out of lethal range. Very good, not gain breaking. Yeah. So I would call it, I think I would call this a 3.5 as well. Well above average. Very useful top-end card. The likes of which we sometimes struggle to find in this meta. Any particular reason we are looking at these cards from Arena's perspective? Yeah, because why do I don't give a shit about Constructed, so... I would both be the exact wrong person to watch talk about Constructed, and also I don't care. It's an Arena stream, my friend. We could look at it from Mercenary's perspective. This doesn't make sense. Okay, I did it. I don't know if it makes sense to rate each class, because there's only 3 cards for each, but I will kind of say Warrior... hit or miss. We got 1 terrible, 1 very good, and 1 completely average card out of the expansion. Hi, Ghost Beaver. Going okay. Let's see here. Let's make this review process go a little bit easier and clear out the chat a little bit. A nice little temporary ban. Hey! Dose of Coffee coming in with the raids. Welcome. We just started our Throne of the Tides mini-set review. We talked about the neutrals, and we talked about the warrior cards. We're on to shaman now. Hi, Pohemius. Keki is here. Welcome. Let me give a shout out to all you wonderful Dosey-Dose people. Check out Dose, of course. Fantastic streamer. Dearly beloved Dose of Coffee. Have you looked at the new cards yet, folks? Dose? Have you looked at these? My first time seeing some of them. Talk about the Clownfish. 3 mana, 3/2, common murloc. Battlecry, your next 2 murlocs cost 2 less. Huh. I think it's bad. I think it's a very funny picture. Look at the little legs. Why you got the little legs like that? Yeah, I have Neptulon. Sounds rough. Yeah, the neutral colossal. It's Raid Boss Onyxia, but different. A different flavor. First, these immune cards. I do not like them. Clownfish, I think I could see it being draftable. I do not think it's a good card at all. Because it's saying, like, you need to have Murlocs in your deck, and you need to have enough of them that you're going to draw them and play them. And that discount has to be tempo relevant. So it better happen fast, because in the late game, you don't really care about the mana. Legs of a clown and head of a fish. Extraterrestrial, you got the ET legs. Let's just roast the clownfish. I bet it tastes pretty good roasted. Anyway, I'm gonna call this a 1, and it's a 1 for one reason. It's not lower for one reason, and that's slime scale diver. So if you do like I have been doing and drafting all the slime scale divers that you see, then having a 1 mana slime scale diver could be good. I still think 1 is very generous though. Very, very generous for a 3 mana 3/2. But oh, we're getting another murloc right here, so maybe 1 is fair. Twin fin, that's good. That's a good point. Between slime scale, twin fin, and this card, there's probably enough murlocs every once in a blue moon to justify drafting this. And honestly, sometimes you just want to put something on the board that you know is gonna die, but you want to see what the opponent will use to kill it, right? So, okay. Hide Lost Burrower, 4 mana 4/4, common murloc. Battlecry, dredge. If it's a murloc, summon a 2/2 copy of it. We like dredge. Strong mechanic. 4 mana 4/4 is a bad stat line, but it's not atrocious. If it's a murloc, summon a 2/2 copy of it. Slime Scale Diver. Again, y'all, 2/2 copy of a Slime Scale Diver is very strong. And if it's a twin fin, you get a little bit of initiative, right? So the synergies with this are pretty good. I'm gonna say this one is... I want to say this one is a 2.5. The 2/2 copy thing is just generally not going to be relevant for you, but I'm going to rate this, I believe, the same as that warrior card that has the dredge attached. Very average card. Dredge elevates it to 2.5. Command of Neptulon, 5 mana. Oh, I did see this one. 5 mana rare nature spell. Summon 2 5/4 elementals with rush. Overload 1. Okay, who here remembers that faceless card? Faceless Manipulator, I believe? Five mana 4/4 transform another card into another 4/4 rush. Very, very good card. This is that without the downside of needing to have a minion on board. And the only bad thing about it is you overload, and only for 1. And you get 5/4s instead of 4/4s. The more I think about it, the more I agree. This is an easy 5. Because, like, Faceless Manipulator was so good that it dominated the meta for a while. That's not the right name for it. Faceless Corruptor. Yes, thank you. Faceless Corruptor was so good that it dominated the meta for a while. This removes the downside of, like, you need something on the board or else it's not good. So, turn 5, you know, it used to be you would play like a 5/4 on turn 5 and be fine with it. But now, now this is a 5/4 with rush and another 5/4 with rush, so you can kill a minion, or you can even value trade, and you still have a whole ass 5/4 on the board. Holy moly, this is huge. So looking at Shaman's cards, again, we have the same pattern of very bad card, very average card, very good card, except I think that in general, each of these improves on the warrior cards. This has some use, this has some synergies, and this is busted. Very, very strong. Bonkers for arena, for sure. Shaman with this spell is going to be scary, I think. Because Shaman is going to have this for tempo plays and for aggression. You could Bloodlust a few turns after this, maybe. You can get the opponent to flood the board to try to kill this stuff and then AoE. Opponent plays a pit fighter. This is unplayable into it. 5 mana, kill a pit fighter, overload 1. Oh, the Ed Sheeran scroll will give you this now too, yeah. So you actually won't be picking the fire spell every time. Sometimes you'll be picking the Neptulon. Ed Sheeran just keeps getting more powerful. It's because they put him in Game of Thrones. Let's do the druids. Moonbeam. I saw this card. I like this card. 1 mana, common, arcane spell. Deal 1 damage to an enemy twice. It's good with spell damage, right? A little bit of a double bonus there. It's nice to kill a click clocker or something like that. Something with Divine Shield. I guess it wouldn't work with like a possessed villager, right? Because it's a different enemy. It's burn, it can go face for 2 damage. It's just a different way of doing a 1 mana deal 2, which I like. I like that sort of effect. Yeah, similar to Arcane Blast, right? Exactly. Or the Druid, choose one. So this is going to be worse than the choose one spell because it doesn't have that flexibility, but Arcane Tag matters a little bit for like multicaster and stuff, I guess. We'll call this like a 2.5, I think average. It might be a little bit worse than that, honestly. I want to see how it plays, though, because I like the idea of it a lot. Piggyback, it wouldn't work on piggyback, I think. And it's bad against like a blood guard, maybe. I don't know. But you're probably only using this to kill the blood guard anyway, and I don't know. Hopefully there's not other stuff on board. Niche cases. Niche cases. If you get spell damage, it clears the pally 4/2. Yeah, you know, and even, you know, being able to shoot the pally 4/2 and hero power it is fine. Herald of Nature. I didn't know Herald got out much. 3 mana, 3/3, common, naga, battlecry. If you've cast a nature spell while holding this, give your other minions +1/+2. I don't know. I don't know. What's my read on this? It's a 3 mana, 3/3, which, as discussed, is a bad stat line. You know, it gets night captained and stuff. But Druid has a lot of nature spells. The way that Druid exists now, it's basically impossible to miss nature spells entirely, right? There's just so many. Yeah, right, so you play Flipper Friends, and then you play this, and your whole board is 2/3s. Or Scale, right? So the thing about this is it's kind of like a macaw in that sense. You're kind of banking a big swing on a slightly understated body. And it's not, you know, unlike that other card, Heart of the Wild, they don't have to be beasts specifically. Scale has no tag. Okay, fair enough. But, you know, still, if this is active from another card and then you scale and buff them all up, very strong. Slightly situational, I'll call it a 4. It's going to win a lot of games. But you do have to have a little bit of setup. It's not going to be so great as a top deck. All that jazz. Not really properly a curve card. And you do have to have the board to get the effect, which again in Druid is very easy right now, so it's probably going to be really good. But maybe it's meta dependent. Spirit of the Tides, 2 mana, 2/2 elemental, rare. If you have any unspent mana at the end of your turn, gain +1/+2. So I assume that means when this is on the board, right? It's not gonna happen in your hand. Right? This is so nice to fill curve. Seems okay. Like, it's a 2-drop that you're never gonna want to play on 2. You could play it on 3, and it'll be a 3/4. I would assume on board, otherwise it's too good. Yeah, right? Turn 3, put this out, it's a 3/4. Yeah, right, but why is that a good thing to you? That's very average. That's kind of below average at this point. And you play turn 4 off curve. Okay, if it survives, and you play a 3-drop on turn 4, then I'm wondering why you weren't just playing the 3-drop on turn 3. I don't know. It seems like a card for a game where you're having a bad time. Or maybe if you can protect it very well. I'm gonna call this a 2.5. I don't think it's better than average. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it will. It's just like, if you're playing off mana every turn, it's far less likely that you'll be able to protect this or help generate other threats. But maybe I'm wrong and it deserves a 3 or a 3.5 even. We'll see. Druid's cards, I think, are different than the other two classes in that they're all just solid. They're all solid to above average. This is the highlight, I would say. No downside for floating mana is a pretty decent thing, or less of a downside. Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty decent thing. Maybe I'm underestimating this a little bit, and I'll be curious to see. Druid gets some solid tools, but I don't think anything game-changing. This is going to be the annoying one, because already we're annoyed by, like, Druid going wide and then having, like, Soul of the Forest, or the one that draws them a million cards, or Sow the Soil, right? And this is just another version of that, so we're going to be contending with it all the time. If you treat it as a 3-drop only, it's a 3/4 elemental spider tank. Yeah, which is not good enough these days. Well, it's sometimes good enough, but it's not good enough, you know. I like 3-mana 3/4s, but you would like to have them do something as well. Which this does, you know, if it survives, it grows more, maybe. We'll see. Okay. Could be good on coin. Yeah, you're just coining out a 3/4, basically. Inkveil Ambusher, 2-mana 1/2 rare, naga, stealth, has +3 attack and immune while attacking. Immune! Boo! Boo! Yeah, it's true. I saw that news. This is re-banned from Arena, as far as we understand it. So I'm just gonna give it a 5 and move on. Yeah, imagine if Gangster were the best card in the meta. That's what this is. 6 out of 5. Like, if you played a Gangster, but you control where it goes and when it goes, and it doesn't die when it goes. It's not, yeah, it's not an Arena card, and they correctly identified that, so we don't have to think about this. Jackpot! 2-mana common spell. Add 2 random spells from other classes that cost 5 or more to your hand. Which are the classes that cost 5 or more? I don't remember. Warrior? I think this is good. I think this could be quite good. So there are whiffs. You could get, like, the 10-mana Ice Blood Mage thing that casts spells from your deck, which could actually be good in some cases. Sometimes Glacial Mysteries is in. Warrior has some weird big spells. But for the most part, if you're getting a random large spell, it's gonna be quite nice. Yeah, Proving Grounds, duels and stuff. Yeah. I would imagine that on average, you're gonna be very happy with what you get from this. Rogue has so many tools like this for refill. I think this is like a 4. And it could be even better. And I think it's quite nice that it's from other classes, because Rogue's big spells are not that good, right? I would think it's almost closer to 50-50, honestly, regarding whether spells would be good rotation dependent. You think so? Just offhand, thinking about large spells, it seems like there's so many more good ones than bad or mediocre ones. But on the other hand, maybe I'm only thinking about the ones that we tend to draft rather than the ones that we tend to ignore. The time will tell. Chatter Shambler. 1-mana, 1/3 elemental, rare. Battlecry. Your next death rattle minion costs 1 less, but immediately dies when played. And that's forever, right? Is this undraftable? I think this might be undraftable. Like, You don't want that. You don't want to play a minion and then have it die. That's terrible. Really a constructed card. 0? Like, I can't even imagine. You'd have to have 0 death rattles in deck, and then it's just a 1 mana 1/3. That does happen in this meta. There's not a lot of death rattles around. I just think it's undraftable. Eggs? True, true. Eggs are a thing. You don't want to play Egg Rogue? What I want and what I believe is possible are two different things. Camel City. That would be nice if you just draft a bunch of eggs. You're gonna lose, but it would be fun. The new Colossal? Oh, yeah! the tentacle guy. Yeah, you could play the new Colossal and it dies immediately and wipes out the opponent's board. Owl? Nah. I think this is a 0, undraftable. Boy, Rogue got kind of shanked. It'll be fun to play with Jackpot, but this is not an arena, and this is not an arena card. But you know, Rogue doesn't really need more good tools right now, so I'm fine with them not getting much in the mini set. On to Paladin. On to Paladin. Myrmidon, 3 mana, 3/4, Naga, common. After you cast a spell on this minion, draw a card. Okay, so this is a 3 mana, 3/4, which, as we discussed, is fine, but not really good enough these days. It has the Naga tag, which is great, because the more Nagas you have in your deck, the more they synergize with each other. And it has a really nice upside. Cast a spell on this minion, draw a card. Paladin's the class where you are casting spells on minions most often. So it's a good way to make a tempo play that also replenishes your hand a little bit. I'm going to call this a 3.5. It's not better than that, because you still have to have the cards to buff the Myrmidon, and you have to have them in your hand. And typically when you buff, and this is important too, typically when you buff, you want to do it with initiative, so not the turn you play a card. That gives the opponent the opportunity to clear it, which often happens, especially if it's a card like this, where they know you might pop off with it, right? So you can throw this down and put a buff on it, but then they might clear the thing with the buff, and then you're sad. So it's just something to keep in mind. This is nice stats too. Bohemius loves the 3 mana 3/4s. I'm telling you, I love a 3 mana 3/4 as much as the next person, but it's not good. It's not good stats in this meta. It's just acceptable stats. But it's not understated, which is super nice. If this was understated, it would be a far worse card. You can happily play this on turn 3 without any chance of the upside. So that's a huge difference between above average cards and average or below average cards, whether you can play them happily without the synergy or not. Light Ray. 9 mana, 5/5, common elemental, taunt. Cost 1 less for each paladin card you've played this game. This is a cool card. I think it's pretty. I think it's very pretty. I like the art a lot. What would this have to be good? 5 mana, 5/5 taunt, acceptable. 4 mana, 5/5 taunt, good. So you need 5 discounts. By the middle or late game, will you have played 5 paladin cards? Probably, unless your deck sucks. Maybe not by the middle game, but by the late game. A question about the last card that I think is actually a good question. Would it be better if it's a 2/5? I think yes, not because 2/5 is a better stat line in a vacuum than 3/4. I think they're both better for different things. But specifically because you're going to be buffing this card, a 2/5 is a better stat line, because when you're buffing things, you want more health rather than more attack, so that it lasts longer after you give it a bunch of attack, if that makes sense. 2/5 is a better skeleton for buffs than 3/4. But yeah, I think Light Ray is good. You just, like, draft a couple of Light Rays, you have late game cheat cheap late game taunts. You can just throw it on the board, and they also, because it's 5 power, are threats to the opponent themselves. I'm gonna call this also a 3.5. Obviously, if you have neutral stone deck, don't draft these, but more often than not, you're gonna be playing Bannerman in the early game. You're gonna be playing your buffs. You're gonna be playing your 2/2 that dredges and buffs. You'll get to a decent light rate pretty fast. I think this is pretty bad. Oh, really? Is it because why? Because it's like a late game card that is just stats or something? I don't know. I value cheap taunt pretty highly. Maybe because it's not always going to be cheap, it's not as good, but why does this look different? Front lines, 9 mana epic spell, summon a minion from each player's deck, repeat until either side of the battlefield is full. Okay, this is another meme card, and I saw this on social media, and I was sitting there trying to envision a way to play this in Arena. It's just not good. You would need to have a big paladin deck. And it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. 0.5, maybe somebody can make it work in some big brain deck where you know that you have big chunguses and death rattles and the opponent probably doesn't. If you have a big paladin deck, you die before 9. Yeah, right? It's not like an archetype that makes sense, you know? I'm gonna be generous and give it the 0.5, but I don't know about that one. The one thing I can think of is if you have colossals in your deck, right? Like Leviathans, because this summons the... But even then, it's not... Yeah. Or if their board is already mostly full and yours isn't. Yeah, it doesn't work that way, Tarek. That's what I thought originally, too. That it would be like, what's that card? The one that summons the 1/5 taunts? Spreading Plague or whatever? I thought it would be like that, where you get a bunch and they only get 1 or 2, but it doesn't work that way. You gave this a 0.5, but the rogue 1-drop a 0. I'm sure you'll pick the 1-drop more than this just because you don't have death rattles in deck. Maybe. Does picking something more than another thing mean that it has a higher rating score value? Also, maybe. I actually don't know about that either. Granted, the 1-drop is less exciting. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, you can maybe win games on the back of front lines. If the best case scenario for the 1-drop is you play a 1-mana 1/3 on 1, you're not gonna take that to the bank. Okay, Paladin cards, they're fine. I actually like the Miniset cards so far, except for the neutral stuff. The, specifically the Colossal. Because that other neutral card is really cool, too. Yeah, that's what we were saying, Dose. The Rogue one is basically unpickable unless you get it at the very end of a draft and you have 0 death rattles. And that's just, like, such a specific circumstance. And so little reward. For the most part, the power creep has been toned down a little. It seems that way. Like, we're getting a lot of cards that are like, okay, this is functional, but they're not... You're not gonna have a 0 mana light ray on turn 4, you know? On to Priest. Okay. Okay. This puppy. Dare I say... 5? Dare I say it? Cheaper, better, entomb. Cheaper, better, entomb. Cheaper entomb by 2 mana with an upside. And a shadow tag. 4 mana, drown, shadow, rare. Put an enemy minion on the bottom of your deck. So Entomb is already one of the better priest cards. I think that's fair to say, because it's getting rid of something with silence, because death rattles don't escape it. But this could happen on turn 4, like an Assassinate or a Polymorph. And if it's a good minion that you're taking, you can dredge it up and have it. Now, to be fair, the dredge thing is a relatively minor aspect of this card, because it takes time, and you're not always going to be drowning things that you yourself want to have, but you often will be. It's often going to be like their best cards, like Templar Captain or whatever. And then you'll be very happy to have it at the bottom of your deck where you can access it with your dredges. It's just phenomenal. It's, you know, at any point in the future where they finally adjust Priest into a playable shape, this is gonna be killer. This doesn't shuffle the deck. Right, that's why it's good. This doesn't shuffle the deck, and that's why it's good. Because you can access it at the bottom of your deck. That's what I'm saying. Better Assassinate. Not sure it's a 5, though. Probably 4.5. That's fair. That's fair. I value hard removal in metas like this very highly. And this has all the good qualities of hard removal. It's cheap. It's extremely effective against basically everything. And it has an additional upside of value later on. Let's see. CJ has some information here. I looked at all the 5+ mana spells from the classes. This is how many good ones, from my humble perspective, there are in any general scenario. So this is for that rogue card that puts random 5+ spells in your hand. Shaman, 4 out of 5. Demon Hunter, 3 out of 5. Priest, 6 out of 6. Mage, 9 out of 11, never forget. Warlock, 7 out of 7. Paladin, 4 out of 6. Druid, 6 out of 7. Warrior, 1 out of 2. Hunter, 2 out of 3. So you're basically never going to miss with that rogue card. Busted. Herald of Light. 3 mana, 3/4. Naga, common. Battlecry. If you cast a holy spell while holding this, restore 6 health to all friendly characters. Okay. Three? I think 3 is fair. Healing effects are not the most powerful effects in the world, but restoring 6 health to all friendly characters, you know, you play a holy spell like a removal or something in the late game, like a Holy Nova when you're about to die, make some value trades after the Holy Nova, play the Herald of Light, all of a sudden your health goes from 4 to 10, and your minions are all healthy again as well. Pretty good. Yeah, also it's a 3/4. Best stat line I know of. A lot of the good big cards are clears rather than tempo. That's true, but that's kind of good for the rogue card, right? Because you're spending mana to lose tempo and fill your hand up with value, which gives the opponent an opportunity to flood the board, which you can respond to with the removal, is how I would imagine it'll work a lot of the time. I would draft this over most 3s, honestly. Yeah, it's no downside, and, you know, a little bit of healing doesn't hurt. And again, the ability to make value trades with your whole board and then plunk this down and heal your whole board, I think that's pretty good. It requires a little bit of synergy, but, you know, we all know how much stronger the if you've cast a effects are than if you've cast this turn, right? So, I think it's really good. Herald plus Akanai. Disarming Elemental. Hang on, what the heck am I doing here? Alright, Disarming Elemental. 4 mana, 4/4. Elemental. Rare. Battlecry. Dredge for your opponent. That its cost is 6? I love these prank cards. I love these prank cards. They're so fun. They're so fun. I loved that one legendary that let you put a card from your opponent's hand back in their deck. I love this sort of thing. Messing with your opponent's flow. It's, you know, once you get deeper into the game and start to understand concepts like flow, just being able to recognize your opponent's plan and disrupt it, it's so good. It's so good. Stats are a little below average. And you're not getting anything out of this yourself, right? But you're obliterating your opponent's next top deck. If I'm being honest, it's a 2.5. It's average, right? Because you're taking the hit on the stats, but you're making up for it by ruining their next draw, which in the middle game, they're still going to have plenty of stuff to do. Obviously, if it's a top deck situation, you're very happy to have this card. But in the middle game, they're still going to have plenty of stuff to do. It's an effect that is going to be... It's going to pay off, if anything, like 10 turns down the line when they're out of other cards and they just have this crappy 6-mana 1-drop, right? You can read into their future dredges, too. Yeah, that's accurate. Yeah, if they dredge after this, you know what the other things you need to be worried about are. So you get a little bit of information, too. I think it's a cool card. Priest, best crop of cards of any of them so far. Which is great, because Priest has been in a bad place for a while. I don't know that they do different things than Priest already does. I think this is kind of a different thing. This is more of a tempo ruiner idea. Priest has a lot of stuff like this, and some stuff like this too, but this is just a better version of it. Priest has come out on top so far. Patch notes released. Good. Do you know when do you think that they'll drop the Miniset tomorrow? They usually do it at like 10 PST. 10 West Coast time-ish. Yeah. Move on to Hunter. I'm very excited and curious to see Hunter stuff, as always. Ancient Krakenbane. 3-mana 3/3 rare naga. A lot of these 3-mana 3/3 stat lines coming out. Interesting. Battlecry, if you've cast 3 spells while holding this, deal 5 damage. I don't know about this. 5 out of 5? 5 out of 5 for card name. Well, that's fair. I don't know about this sort of thing in Hunter. Like, having a card that you have to hold. Like, if you're playing an aggressive Hunter, you don't want that. Now, if you're playing like a mid-range Hunter with a lot of marked shots, maybe that's when you really like to have the Krakenbane. And there are, to be fair, a lot of spells that you do take in Hunter. Strictly Constructed, I like this. I'm somewhere in between CJ and Makarov there. I don't think it's Strictly Constructed. I think you could do a mid-range Hunter build where this is very good. But I also don't know if I like this. If you've cast 3 spells while holding this... Think about Dragonbane Shot. Yeah, but they nerfed Dragonbane Shot. Harder to take Dragonbane Shot for 3 mana now. Dragonbane Shot was 2 mana, maybe. It's just... It makes you draft shitty spells. Well, there's a lot of good small spells in Hunter. It's just the problem with this is that what this makes you do is have a card in your hand that you can't play. And that's poison in Hunter. That's poison, because you need all the tempo you can squeeze, you know? I would say a 2. Maybe it's a 2.5. You can pick it up after drafting the spells. Might not be an initial draft pick. Yeah, well, that's how you would definitely want to do it, Proxy. You would want to do it once you know that you have the spell support. But even then, you get it in the early game, you happen to not have drawn your spells, you're like, am I supposed to play this on 3? Am I supposed to hold it? And then you get 5 damage, which is great and could end the game, but I don't know. Maybe you're pushing in the late game, you get an Arcane Shot face, you get 5 more damage face. I could see it being very good. But for now, I'll rate it a conservative 2. Shellshot, 3-mana nature spell, rare. Deal 3 damage to a random enemy minion. Repeat this with 1 less damage. So it does 3 and then 2, basically. And then not any more after that. Okay. So it's 3 mana, deal 5. But it's random, is the thing. Is this good? If there's 2 health minions on board, it clears. It's like a power shot, sort of. Well, I don't think it goes 3, 2, 1. I think it goes 3 and then 2 and then it stops, right? Does it keep repeating? This is something that I can't tell from the language. Does anyone have any particular insight? Wait, the dragons are coming back? No. No. Well, it's been fun having fun with the game. Time to get to the Hearthstone mines for the next month or so. Wow. Wow, I'm sad now. Review I've read implies that it repeats. From the image, it seems like 2 shots. Okay. It should keep repeating till you go to 0. But it just depends on what this means. And this is entirely ambiguous. Does this mean the card? Or does this mean 3 damage? If you repeat 3 damage with 1 less damage, it goes 3 and then 2 and then stops. If you repeat the card, then it goes 3, 2, 1. But I somehow don't think that it... I think that they're just phrasing this in a stupid way, and they just are phrasing it this way for spell damage purposes. Like, if you have spell damage, then it will go 4 and then 3. I can't rate this unless I know how it works. I just can't rate the card. So, we'll find out. I can't... Their language on their cards has been so bad these last few sets. It's... You're so convinced, Panthermonium, but I don't see how you can be sure. I would guess it just does it twice? That's what I think. Celestalon said in the reveal stream. It's 2 shots, I'm pretty sure about this. Well, I'm getting exactly contradictory information from chat, so I just can't rate this right now. Thanks, Blizzard. 2 mana, 2/3, mech, common, K9 Otron. Battlecry, dredge. If it's a 1-cost minion, summon it. Yeah, I mean Pelican Diver, but like what else are you gonna summon for 1 mana? I don't think this is useful for the if it's a 1-cost minion, summon it very often. Bubbler? Okay, yeah, you get a bubbler. But I do think it's useful as a 2 mana 2/3 with dredge. We know that that's a strong card already because of Tuskar. You're very happy to draft Tuskar. And the other reason this is good, as -1 points out, is the mech tag. Yeah, at worst it's a trawler, which is great. So honestly, I'm going to mostly be ignoring this part, but this part, ooh, that's a juicy one. In an Gorilla Bot meta, at least. Who knows what the heck the rotation is going to be next, but... I would rate this... Boy, 2.5 or 3. Probably just a 2.5. Strongly average. That's how I've been rating all of the... You know what? I'll bump this to a 3, because 2 mana 2/3 in Hunter is a really nice thing to have. So I'll bump this up to a 3. Dredge to control your curve. I think it's strong. Hunter cards, pending this, I think are fine. I think they add a nice little dynamic to the class. I don't mind these. Do Demon Hunter. Does it being a mech do anything for it? Yeah, I already mentioned the exact thing that it does for it, which is if you have Gorilla Bot, it wins you the game. Mech synergies are very strong right now in the arena, and most of my good decks have been built around mech synergies. Fossil Fanatic. 2 mana, 2/2 common. After your hero attacks, draw a fel spell. Ooh. More card draw tools in Demon Hunter. Well, fel spells are great. That's 3.5. Maybe even a 4. But I don't know. You usually have multiple fel spells and you're very happy to draw them. And if this survives, you draw another one. I think it's really good. It's understated, obviously, but you know. Pulling a spell from your deck is totally worth it. Does somebody have a link to the patch notes, or are they in the client? They are not in the client. Herald of Chaos. 3 mana, 3/4 common naga. Thank you, Dose. Lifesteal, battlecry if you've cast a fel spell while holding this, which will be easier thanks to this. And rush. Wow, now this is a 3 mana, 3/4 that I can get behind. Even 3 mana, 3/4 lifesteal in Demon Hunter is pretty strong. Add the Naga tag, it gets stronger, and add the situational rush, which won't be too hard to pull off. You're getting health. Yeah, I like this. I like this. It's a strong 3.2, a 3.5. I think that I can't justify giving it a 4, but the lifesteal, I think it's very cool. I like it a lot. Topple the Idol, 5 mana, dredge spell, rare. Reveal it, the dredge card, and deal damage equal to its cost to all minions. I like this very much. Because when you're dredging, you're mostly wanting big stuff anyway, especially in a class like Demon Hunter that skews small curve, and then you want to get your battle-worn Battle Master. You want to get your Illidari Inquisitor, and the turn before you do it, you just clear their board, basically. Like, if you actually can dredge a bigger card. Now, because Demon Hunter tends to be lighter curve, you might whiff, but even a whiff is going to be like 3 AoE, which is basically a Chaos Nova. I'm going to call it a 4.5 verging on 5, honestly. It's one of the better cards of the mini set. I think it's pretty cool design too, and we might feel very quickly that it's oppressive, but I don't know. We'll see. Mage? What? The order of these classes, so weird. Alright, Mage. Granted, it shows them your win con. Yeah, it does say reveal it, huh? That's a good point. They get a little information. That justifies the 4.5 over the 5, I think. Submerged Space Rock. Oh, that's pretty. 2 mana, 2/2 elemental, rare. Death Rattle. Add 2 arcane mage spells to your hand. Are these arcane? I figured we'd have one to go with it, right? At the end of your turn, discard them. Oh. So if the opponent kills this card, then you have 1 turn to play them. Interesting. The thing is, if you have good arcane spells in your deck, what if they're situational and you would rather just draw them and play them when you want to? Discarding them is kind of sad. Arcane mage spells. Yeah, I see what both of you are saying. It's hard to say whether this would be better as a battlecry or a death rattle. Better with 10 mana, probably, as a battlecry. Oh, it's not from your deck. Oh, they're random. Oh. Well, that's better then. That's better. Sometimes you'll whiff on the spells and the ability to play them, and it'll just be a 2/2, which is bad. Like, usually you'll be able to use at least one of them, right? Bronze Explorer is core set Dark GG. So they've been doing this thing where they periodically switch out what is in core set. And Bronze Explorer just got into Corset. Could be nice in a pinch, as most of them are cheap. Yeah, I don't mind this card. I'll call this average. I think it's an interesting card, and I'll be curious to see its efficacy. Most of the time, I feel you'll be able to use at least one spell, which will make this worth it, I'd say. Polymorph Jellyfish, 3 mana, common arcane spell, transform a minion into a 4/1 jellyfish with spell damage +2. Okay, so basically this is a 5 mana hard removal. Because you're gonna want to ping. Maybe you have 1/1s on the board. This is like a version of Polymorph Boar, which I think is an okay card. Of course, you also can transform your own stuff, and then you have spell damage +2, and I think that's mostly gonna be useful for a crazy AoE or for lethal. So yeah, I think this is fine. I think it's fine. You like the ability to remove a minion in the late game. It's a 3 mana polymorph, except you're making a stronger minion. I'd say 3.5, because like remember, polymorph is a very strong card. And I like that it's 1 health. That makes it a lot better than the boar to me. Because the boar being a 4/2 is just like, you need something other than just a ping to take care of it. 3 mana, so you can use it with Flame Strike. Yeah. The boar is better aggressively, for sure, for sure. Unless you have, I don't know, like, First Flames or something. Lady Nazjar. Lady Naz X. 5 mana, 5/5, legendary Naga. While in your hand, this transforms after you cast a fire, frost, or arcane spell. Transforms. Okay, frost spell. It's so weird that is this information not in game? Like you don't know what'll happen unless you already know the card. So weird. Frost spell will get you 8 armor, which is bad. Fire spell. Deal 5 damage to an enemy minion and 2 to adjacent minions. Why is this so much better than this? What the hell? And arcane is reduce the cost of spells in your hand by 1. Oh, well, that's not really an arena thing very much. It's so basically this is a subpar card unless you cast a fire spell and then play it. And then it's super strong. 8 armor can be clutch in certain situations though. Yeah, so can Murloc Tiny Fin. But would you say a Murloc Tiny Fin is a good card? No. So this argument of, well, that card can be clutch in certain situations applies to every single card that it's ever existed ever. So, not going to affect my rating. We're trying to figure out, is this card good on a day-to-day basis in your general arena situations in a way that you can employ it to gain victories? Sponge is not here because he likes to not know what the cards are before they drop. This is too specific. This effect is incredible. It's explosive shot with a 5/5 body. It's incredible, obviously. But you need to have already cast a fire spell, and you need to... Wait, if you cast another spell, like a frost spell, after you've cast a fire spell, does it transform again? I wouldn't think so. But I don't know. Anyway, in conclusion, I don't think this is good, but sometimes it'll be busted. 2. I don't think it transforms again. Yeah, I wouldn't imagine. Yeah. There's a decent amount of fire spells in Mage. Maybe I'm underrating this. Thanks, CJ. And that's it. That's it. So yeah, that's the set, the mini set.